What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are out hunting again. It's been a little while since I've done that, and today I'm going to be making a pickup of a PC that originally was listed for $450, and I managed to talk the guy down to $380. So a really good pickup for some good parts that we'll discuss later if all goes well with the transaction. But out on the hustle once again to find some, this time an entire PC that I'm hoping that maybe I can throw a little bit of upgrades into and clean it up and make it into a pretty awesome flipper PC that not only looks and performs well, but earns me a little bit of cash. Let's go. Alrighty, guys, we are back in my studio. Got the PC up on my table. Really good interaction with the seller. Basically just swooped by, picked it up at their house, so I had the opportunity, which also didn't allow me, I didn't want to film around someone's property or anything like that. I didn't even ask. So showed up at his house. Everything was good. He booted it up for me one more time. Even though he did send me a video, I just kind of said, well, you know, since you got it there, do you mind booting it up, making sure everything's good? It booted up. It went to a Windows 10 screen, so everything looks good, minus the fact that the PC is a little rough on the edges. But that's what I was looking for too, is something that needs a little bit of love to maybe give it that extra oomph for a resale, hopefully profit. But let's take a look what we got here. So I'm gonna just pull this glass panel off. This is in the Cooler Master. I don't recall the name of this case. It's a pretty decent case. It's got kind of like a red aesthetic going, so we've got some red trim lines here, and I think the fans only have red LEDs, so we may keep that, we may not. The thing is, we're gonna try to do is minimal investment as possible, that way we can flip. But what I was looking for is things that I could change up to make it stand out. I don't know how long this person in particular was waiting to sell this PC. We got a little bit of dust in here, not too bad. Definitely has an odor. Yeah, because he had two cats that were greeting me as I was there, so I could see some dust. I mean, pretty common for a PC that you clearly didn't attempt to clean it out or anything. But let's get the light here on it and take a look at what we got. All right, so we got some extra light shining on the PC so we can better see what we're dealing with here, but pretty good bones. I noticed this is a Z370 motherboard, so it's a Z series motherboard. It's only got an i5 in it, so 8th gen i5, I believe, could be a 9th gen. This is a board that accepts both. So i5 might be the weak factor there, possibly also why I may have had a hard time selling it. He also only had like two kind of not so great pictures of the PC, but anywho, what we're seeing here is definitely a cable management disaster. Didn't even trim some of the zip ties here that are holding things on. Now I do know this case, I've built in this case before. It is really difficult to cable manage in this case, but definitely could have probably pulled the 24 pin over, like at least behind the motherboard tray, whatever. We're gonna get it all nice looking. But we've got a i5 behind a Hyper 212 cooler, a decent cooler, but also a dated cooler. So it's kind of not really, it's not really of the spec look these days, especially with this, you know, the copper heat pipes and the just you know, shiny tower. So I might replace the cooler with something that just looks aesthetically better. It's also a little crooked. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's not all the way fastened down. Yeah, so then what else? We got an MSI Z370 motherboard, as I mentioned, a GTX 1080. So this is one part I'm pretty excited about. This is a really good video card, still in 2024, even though these cards are like 6-7 years old. Perfect for 1080p gaming. I'm not gonna try to make a ton of money off this thing, really just turn it around and sell it. I am noticing, actually, now that I'm looking deeper into the board, looks like we don't have any NVMe drives in here whatsoever. I am seeing a hard drive underneath, but I am curious about that. So let's open it up around back and take a look. Yeah, I need a screwdriver to take those screws off. All right, and we don't have a rear exhaust fan, so that's definitely, I think, a missed resale item there. PC's pretty rough. They didn't attempt to clean it at all. Or make it presentable. And it's got some scratches and dings. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with this case, honestly. Definitely has cat odor, which is not good for me because I am highly allergic. All right, what do we got going on here? Okay, there is an SSD, a 2.5-inch SSD. The listing didn't really say much for what it was. As far as specs wise, there's, like I said, 2 pictures in total, so it wasn't a whole lot. But actually, let's take a look at, while we're trying to get that SSD out, 650 watt bronze power supply, from EVGA. Now my dog's checking out the case panel. He can smell the cats. But yeah, power supply, pretty solid power supply. I have no real particular reason to try to change that. I think that'll be just fine for this type of build. But come on out here, what do we got? Ooh, man, that's hairy and dusty. So we've got a Samsung Evo 250 gig SSD. So primarily just for boot. And what do we got hard drive wise? Because again, I don't know what this thing had in it because he didn't really have it listed. He just said plays games, does things well. 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda, so that's a lot of storage, but we're kind of past the days of spinning drives in gaming systems unless you particularly have a real big need for a lot of storage. And I wouldn't suggest putting games on on spinning drives unless you absolutely have to. You can, but storage is generally so cheap, and yeah, I might as well just keep this in the system as a resale factor. It's probably not going to be looked at as much of a resale factor, but at least, you know, some extra storage. He also said he didn't wipe the system, so we have the original OS. I'm kind of curious if there's like what actual steps the person actually took at all to like remove their data from the PC. I mean, that's not good. I hope he at least did like a restart or something. But he said, "You okay with formatting the drive?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm going to, definitely." I don't know or trust what you've done with this operating system. I didn't say that, but always do that too. If you're getting a PC that's pre-built like this, that isn't from a reputable company, wipe it out, start fresh. We've already had a video covering that type of thing. Anywho, so I think I just want to see it boot up. We have already seen it boot up, but I want to see what we have in terms of what we're getting. Kudos on him. He did put the RAM in the correct spots. I think he is a relatively seasoned builder. It sounded like he was making some upgrades. However, really didn't try much to clean this thing up. Okay, yeah, very dusty. All right, so I'm gonna put an HDMI cable here, and we're gonna get power here. And we're gonna boot this bad boy up. See what happens. 3, 2, 1. Oh, probably, yep. Hit the switch on the power supply. There we go. It's going through typical. Uh-oh. Is it doing that before? It's. Oh, I just realized we've got the RAM. I guess I didn't slide it in all the way. I installed it in reverse. I hope I didn't damage anything. That's a funny moment on my part. Okay, it was just hanging there. I didn't have it. I had it halfway out of the slot. Careful when you do stuff like that. Hopefully, I didn't just kill this PC. That would make for some funny content, I guess. Yeah, I just had it sticking off to the side. Whoops-a-daisy. Let me make sure I got that. Okay, we've got it going the right way now. Hilarious. I could have sworn I heard 2 clicks, but I probably just jammed it in there and didn't realize the rest. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's more stability than before. Great job, Dan. Great job. Okay, so easy debug. We're getting the display over here. Perfect. I don't have a keyboard or mouse plugged in, but it's going straight into Windows. I'm going to grab a keyboard and mouse real quick. We have one here. I just got to plug in my dongle. All right, we'll test the front I/O, I guess. Mouse, keyboard dongle. Mouse came on. That's good. Don't have it. Okay, well, he's not giving me a whole lot of options here. That's fine. I'm not going to be able to see exactly what is going on here with the operating system, but that's trusting people out there, because technically, yeah, I could potentially remove these drives and see what's on the drives and all that stuff. So unless he did go through and delete things, who knows? But he definitely left his operating system installed from as it was, and also left his username, JT server or whatever. So maybe he's using this as a server, game server, whatever. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to get in because I don't have a password, so which is fine. I was going to reinstall Windows and everything. But aside from that, this thing's got some great bones, and like I mentioned, I managed to pick it up for $380, originally listed as $450. I tried to hit him with $350. He hit me back with $400. I said, let's meet in the middle at $380, and here we are. So I think some investment, things I'm thinking through in my head right now to make this PC a beauty again and resell for hopefully a good profit. The CPU cooler is pretty outdated, and it's really honestly so dirty looking. I think we can spend $20 on like a Thermalright Assassin I've already built with one of those, and they look great. Maybe a RGB fan or just another red fan, or I don't know. I got to think on that, because I'm also thinking about replacing this case. It's very beat up. We've got these scuff marks all the way up, because this is unfortunately, that is acrylic, and it's beat up bad. And he even said like his cats would jump on it, which I can smell. So I might just go ahead and honestly do a fresh case. Then we can find something that's got some good RGB. This is gonna be something I'm gonna have to think on, because that is a full ATX motherboard. But some things to think on. Basically, when we cut to the next part of this video, I'll have all that figured out, because I gotta sit here and do some research on what exactly I want to spend money on to make this a good looking resellable build without spending too much money. I'm thinking and hoping that we can maybe upgrade it to an i7, like an 8700K. I did already kind of previously look at those. They're going for about $100 on eBay right now, so that's not too bad. That would be a good upgrade. That would make a good resale factor too. People like to see i7, i9, i5. Even though some of the new i5s are fantastic processors, people who don't know that stuff, they kind of just swipe on by. If we do stay with the case, definitely would have to basically be a complete rebuild, because I got to clean it all out and then rerun all the cabling job, because it is a rat's nest. But yeah, so stay tuned for the next cut of this video, where I'll have everything figured out, and we'll proceed on with what we're gonna do.
Day 2.
Alrighty guys, new day, obviously, new shirt. Took some time and effort to think through what exactly I could do to this machine that would be mostly cost effective for me for resale. Obviously, it's in pretty bad shape as it is right now. The fans are really dim, and yeah, it needs some work. And I started to think maybe I paid a little too much for it, but we'll see. So what I came to the conclusion was, we're gonna leave the i5 that's in there. It's the 8th generation i5, which is plenty fine for 1080p gaming. An i7 would be great for resale factor, would be great for performance. Always something that the person that ends up with this machine can always upgrade to, which I will make sure to put in my ad. But getting one of those is $100. So we got $380 total dollars invested. So if I spent another $100, and this is, becoming a dated machine. We've got a 6 generations back now CPU, and a GTX 1080, which is still a very capable 1080p gaming card, even very mild level 1440p if you really push it. However, 6 to 7 years old. So I didn't want to go nuts and just go full-blown upgrades on this. Basically, we're looking for resale factor. So I got to thinking, and mostly what helped me conclude this is, remember the scuff marks I was talking about that was up here on front of the acrylic? Well, it looked like it was like paint or something, but I managed to clean it up. So I took some isopropyl alcohol with a microfiber towel, at least was able to wipe that off, and that's really where I got to thinking I could clean this up and actually make it into a very decent looking gaming rig for not too much money. So I decided I'm gonna stick with the case, even though it is really dirty and smells bad, and we'll take care of that. But just, yeah, also investing in a case is gonna at least run me $70 just for that part, roughly around $60 to $70. I also had to accommodate for a motherboard that is a full ATX size, which this one is. So lots of things to think about, and I got to thinking, let's just make some minimal aesthetic approach upgrades. And one thing too I wanted to include was an NVMe drive, a 512 gig drive. This system's capable of it and just simply does not have it. And I think that's a big, loss for this type of machine. But as for aesthetics, as you can see, these fans, like, I turned off all the lights in my studio, so it's really washed out right now with all the lights that I have. I've got one above here and 2 over there, but it is very washed out. Like, you can probably hardly see it. I can't hardly see it on my viewfinder, but I thought, what if I got a 5-pack of fans? So put a few here, so 3 here and 1 in the back, and then also replace the fan that's on the CPU cooler. So although this is an older Hyper 212, we can at least have some cohesive theme going on. So I managed to go out to Amazon. Basically was looking for the cheapest 5-pack I can find. I don't know if this brand is good. I've never used it, but it's the Okinos brand. I feel like I've heard some other tech YouTubers use them before, but we'll see. But the thing I'm thinking is it can't be any worse than what we got right now. And this cost me, I think, roughly $22. The good thing is these fans, there's going to be 5 of these that are RGB fans, so they can be set to whatever. But I'm going to go for, as we can see here, a kind of like a red and black theme. So we're going to use this. It comes with its own remote controller, so that way all the fans will sync up because we don't have enough headers. And actually, this is an older motherboard. It doesn't even have a 5-volt 8 RGB. It's a 12-volt RGB header, so that, you know, isn't going to work out too well for us. And then lastly, some cable sleeve extensions. So this is another brand I've not used before. This is what brand is it? MD. What does that stand for? I don't recall, but basically what I was going for is another set of cheap aesthetic upgrades here. This cost me, I think, right at $20. So we got $25 or $20 to $22 invested into the fans, $20, and I'll put screen corrections if I'm not absolutely correct here, $20 on cable extensions, and then $35 on an SSD. So in total, we're spending about $75 extra to add to this system. So hopefully turn us a profit, but we'll see. I'm kind of going on a gamble here. I didn't want to do a case swap because it's going to cost too much money, and I also wanted to get a 512 gig drive in there. So yeah, I felt like this was the better economic approach. But I think with these cable extensions, they look pretty good. This is a, you know, red and black cable extensions, and it's going to be really a challenge to fit it all in this case because I know this case is already tight as it is, and then some RGB fans. So that's my plan. I don't know if it's a good one at this point. We'll see if that really pans out when we actually try to go to sell the PC. But for now, we've got to basically prep the system. And because of how dirty and smelly this PC is, I got to do a full teardown, clean out, and rebuild. So let's get into that. This is funny, they still have the sticker on the back plate of the GPU as well. It is caked on there though. There we go. I guess that makes the clean process a little bit easier for me. But yeah, this thing was choked. With all that heatsink, cannot breathe too well with this sticker on there. It says remove before use. Whoopsie daisy, someone forgot about that. Well, that's nice and clean, so that made my job a little bit easier. On we go. Alrighty, so everything is nice and cleaned up, and actually cleaned up pretty well. Nothing was terribly nasty, just pretty much a thin layer of dust. I made sure I wanted to give the case a good wipe down. It was kind of scuffed up, and luckily I was able to remove a lot of like the scuffs. The acrylic front panel is drying in my sink because I ran it through some water. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about how this PC is going to turn out as far as looks wise, and I'm sure it's going to perform pretty decently well too, even on an older i5 8600K and a GTX 1080. However, I do know that this video is getting a little long tooth in its length at this point, so I think what I'm going to do is forego a build montage and we'll just jump right to the final product. Woo-wee! That is much better looking. And also, Smells better. Yeah, no more cat odor smell that we had before. Took a fair amount of time to dust this thing out completely, wipe it down. There's not a speck of dust in here at all, and all the parts are nicely cleaned up and looking perfect. So I think I definitely made the right move by adding the extra RGB fans into the build. Going with their 3 original Cooler Master fans in there was, yeah, they'd seen better days. I'm not sure how old exactly all the components are in this build in particular, but those fans were not looking very good. So we brightened up the theme with the fans again. These are just an RGB kit, so they actually will, you know, kind of do all the RGB things, but I've got it set red to fit the theme of the PC. So 3 fans up front, 1 fan on the cooler, 1 fan in the rear, which we didn't have a rear exhaust fan at all previously. Next, adding the cable extensions, which I think really ties off the aesthetic of the build. We've got the red and black thing going on, and then obviously the NVMe drive, which I thought was a added needed component for a gaming PC. You know, they're so cheap these days, and doing the whole 2.5-inch SSD and spinning disk drive just really isn't really a thing anymore these days. So all that said, we've spent $460, originally $380 on just the core system as it was in its very dirty, nasty state, and basically added another $80 in aesthetics and performance upgrade with that SSD. So I think I'm gonna try to start listing it at $600 just to give some wiggle room. I don't plan to really settle on someone paying $600, but I'd say if I can get anywhere between $50 to $100 profit, ideally better on the higher end there, the latter end of maybe $100 profit, and land on maybe a negotiated $525, $550, then we made a decent profit on this rig. So all that said, basically it's time to list it on, I'm gonna do Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. I really don't get many sales with OfferUp anymore these days. I think it's kind of dead. Doesn't really work out too well for me anymore, but Facebook, lots of activity. I live in a big metropolitan area, so that'll help me at least sell this PC, because I want to try to do it locally. I'm not going to try to ship it or anything like that. I'm already deep into this. There's not going to be any shipping involved. So I'm going to take some nice photos, and next bit of the video that you guys will see here, which will be just in the next second or so, is hopefully I've settled and negotiated on a deal for someone to buy this PC at a price that I feel and they feel is fair. So stay tuned with the end of the video here, and we'll be on with hopefully a good profitable sale. Alrighty guys, so after about 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a little more, I've got a buyer, and the buyer is actually coming to me to the studio to buy the PC, so that, you know, maybe a little bit of extra profit for me that I don't have to go anywhere. But we settled on $500. So even though it basically was about $460 plus my time and labor to put it together, it's not really much of a profit, but a little eensy-beensy tiny little bit. So yeah, this is definitely a lucrative thing to do. I'm not making a whole lot of money on this transaction, but I'm at least happy this is going to go to somebody that is going to use it, and maybe we'll make some better profit on the next flip. So they are on their way, and we'll get some audio of the transaction once they get here. How's it going?
Hello.
Come on in. How are y'all today?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. All right, just got it right in here for you. Come on in. And here it is. If you want to do the honors, you can turn it on if you want. It should be that. There, you got it. Installed fresh copy of Windows 10 activated, and it's got 2 drives in it. Boot drive, 512 gig drive, 2 terabyte storage drive, GTX 1080, all the stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is just a fresh copy, so all I did was install kind of the necessary things. So you got your EVGA. This will control, like, if you want to do some tuning on the graphics card. I think it also changes the LED lights, as well as you got drivers here from NVIDIA, the latest and greatest, and I just made sure it had the latest Windows version or updates on it. So
Thank you.
yeah, I guess the only thing you would need is just, if you're going to do Wi-Fi, that what link I sent you for a little Wi-Fi dongle. They're like $20, and you can get a good deal right now because it's Prime Day. So any questions? Anything?
Nothing.
Looking good?
Yeah, awesome.
All right, sweet. Okay, well then we can do the Cash App thing or whatever. Is that how you wanted to do it? Oh,
I was only going to do Cash App since they were coming.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's work. Yeah, mind if I check it real quick? 3, 4, and 5. Looks good to me. All right, let's get this thing buttoned up. You got it?
Yep. Thank you
Okay,
so
and I guess I'll maybe hand you the extras.
All right, perfect.
There you go. Okay. You got,
appreciate it.
yeah, you got my number if anything, comes up, but I hope you enjoy it. Have a good one. Safe travels back. 5 hundo in the PC Tech Hustle Bank. So, yeah, that wasn't a huge profit, about $50. But if you think about it in terms of what I bought the PC for, being $380, invested about just a hair under, and making about 10% on the total price of the PC. So $50 out of $500. That's not too bad. We net profited a decent amount, not a huge amount. But when it comes to budget PCs, don't expect to make a ton of flip money unless you find some kind of crazy deal where, yeah, maybe I did pay a little bit too much for what I bought, but at the same time, I think it was a good adventure. So hopefully some good content for you guys. And most importantly, moves me on to my second flip. So stay tuned. Another one's coming real soon.